Here in Florida, it is sad to say that we have more people in prison than most countries on earth. And you know, what are people doing in prison? They've got a lot of time to kill. They're finding ways to legally get out of their case. They're writing appeals. They're challenging everything. Now, if you rewind a bit before they get to prison, most cases end with a negotiated plea bargain. And for those of you that don't know what that means, like let's say I have a client facing 100 years in prison or life in prison. Sometimes we can get them a deal for something far less than what they're facing. By the same token, they might not want that deal anymore and they'll try to find a way to get out of. It's called a withdrawal of a plea. Now, that's what happened in Ciambrone v. State, where Mrs. Ciambrone negotiated a plea to second-degree murder of her son and received a 55-year prison sentence. This was in the late 90s. She was a young lady, a young son. It did mean that she would actually get out with gain time. She would get out in her 50s or 60s. This thing happened like in 1995. But she didn't like the plea deal that she agreed to, and she did find a way to get out of it. It's like a dream for some people. I could withdraw my plea, great. So with the plea withdrawn, she decides to go to trial, and that happened in 2007. But things got worse this time, and so instead of getting out of prison in her 50s or 60s with the old plea bargain that she didn't like, she was found guilty of first-degree felony murder. Now, for those of you who don't know anything about Florida law, first-degree felony murder carries a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole. No loopholes, no nothing. You never, ever get out of prison. You must die in prison. So instead of having that Shawshank moment, in her 50s or 60s, Miss Ciambrone must now spend forever in prison. And the appellate court saw all this unfolding and saw it got worse. And they said the following thing. I'm going to quote them. Other prisoners who fantasize about a future court proceeding in which their motion to withdraw from their negotiated plea results in their freedom should consider the fact that their negotiated plea was done with the assistance of a trained attorney. They should reflect on Mrs. Ciambrone, whose motion to withdraw a plea to a lesser offense now makes it very likely that she will die in custody. Well, what more can I add to that? Nothing.